The distribution of wealth within a society and inequities or inequalities are critical considerations when poverty is discussed. Is it that when the wealthy become wealthier, the poor become poorer? That's an often discussed. Is wealth in the world a constant? Is there a concept such as conservation of wealth, similar to conservation of mass or conservation of energy? That, friends, is the subject or topic for this Saturday. I'm sure you will find it interesting. Anthony Lavoisier, the father of, modern chemistry, said, in nature, nothing is created and nothing is destroyed. Everything changes form. Why is it not applicable to wealth? Is it the most fundamental misunderstanding of economics, technology, and reality? That said, the total amount of wealth in the world may increase, but its distribution can vary widely among different segments of population and regions. Now, while the total mass of an isolated system remains constant over time, regardless of the processes occurring within the system in conservation of mass, the total energy of an isolated system remains constant over time, regardless of the internal processes occurring within the system in conservation of energy. Now, both are fundamental principles of physics. Whereas mass can be rearranged or transformed and neither created nor destroyed, total energy also remains constant, even as it changes from one form to another, from kinetic to potential, potential to thermal, thermal to or any other. Now, the stark contrast between wealth and poverty remains one of the most persistent paradoxes of the modern society. Now, on one side, skyscrapers, luxury, and abundance. On the other, we have slums, scarcity, and struggle. Now, this divide is not just economic, it's a gap in opportunity, education, health, and dignity. As Mahatma Gandhi once said, poverty is the worst form of violence because it deprives individuals not only of resources but of their potential as well. Now, while the rich accumulate assets and influence, the poor often fight daily battles for survival. Now, the irony is that in many cases, both groups coexist and are in close proximity, divided not by geography but by access. Now, the wealth of the few often grows faster than the progress of the many, widening the social inequities. Yet, this dichotomy is not inevitable. It is shaped by policies, systems, and attitudes that can be challenged and also can be changed. As Nelson Mandela once observed, overcoming poverty is not a gesture of charity, it's an act of justice. Bridging this gap requires empathy, it requires equitable development and a commitment to fairness. Now, true progress is not measured by the riches of the few, but by the dignity and upliftment of the many. Now, the future depends on narrowing this divide. Wealth often refers to the abundance of valuable resources such as money, property, investments, business, and other forms of tangible and intangible assets owned by an individual, a group, or maybe a society. Though wealth is often measured in terms of monetary value, it is also the overall well-being and quality of life that an individual or community experiences. While wealth can be acquired through various means, such as income, generation, investments, inheritance, or entrepreneurial activities, it is relative. And wealthy in one context or society might not be the same when you change the society, when you change the context. When wood burns, it undergoes a chemical reaction with oxygen in the air to produce carbon dioxide and water vapor. That's what we learn in the school. Now, the total mass of the products, carbon dioxide and water, is equal to the total mass of the reactants, wood and oxygen. Now, when ice melts into water, or water vapor condenses into liquid water, the total mass still remains the same, constant. The molecules rearrange themselves during these phase changes, but no mass is lost or gained. Now, while these examples prove conservation of mass, a swinging pendulum proves conservation of energy. There is a continuous exchange between potential energy at the highest point of the swing and kinetic energy at the lowest point of the swing. Despite these changes, the total mechanical energy, sum of potential and kinetic energy, remains constant in the absence of external forces like friction or air resistance. So therefore, it's not the sum total of raw materials in the earth also a constant? Then why is the wealth that comes out of the same raw materials not a constant? Laws of conservation of mass and energy are not directly applicable to wealth because wealth is a human-made concept, human-described concept related to the abundance of resources, goods, services, and it's subject to human decisions, economic systems, the policies, the politics, and so on. Wealth is not a physical substance like mass, rather, it's a measure of value of assets, resources, and goods. Economic systems involve production, consumption, investment, and various transactions, even destruction, that lead to the creation and destruction of wealth. Unlike the conservation of mass, wealth is influenced by human choices, innovations, economic policies, and other non-physical factors. In an economic context, wealth can be created through innovation, entrepreneurship, economic growth, right? Similarly, wealth can be destroyed as well through economic downturns, financial crises, or even mismanagement. Wealth is a dynamic and evolving concept, influenced by complex interplay of human actions and the external factors. And it does not follow the strict conservation principles seen in physical systems like mass and in closed systems. The economic processes can generate waste and byproducts, leading to a deviation from the conservation of mass principle. And inefficiencies, pollution, and other extremities can result in the loss of mass without a corresponding increase in economic value. While physical resources are essential for wealth creation, useful work provides the value. So therefore, economic systems go beyond conservation of mass principle. And value addition either doesn't follow conservation of laws. So one person can dig up ditch with a pickaxe, another with a backhoe can provide more value, digging deeper ditch in the same time. The tools were different. While it not only requires energy to create wealth, it also requires power to maintain that wealth. Humanity generates and maintains wealth to the extent that it is able to produce and productively utilize the power. That's the inflection point where poverty begins. Friends, this Saturday I've given you something to ponder upon. Think about it in your wisdom and do write to me for some useful discussion. With that, I end this Saturday's episode and promise to you to be back the next Saturday with another episode. Thank you, Dhanyavad, and Namaskar.